We'll do that. So I got that recorded. Carolyn, it is so nice to have you again on the Fresh Inspiration Show connection with us. Welcome in, my friend.
Thank you so much, Rhonda. It's great to be here again.
Oh, I have my hot water. I'm ready to go. It's been a little cool out here, but I tell you, life is different from the last Facebook Live that we did when we were talking about our event that we were going to do live in Marin. And times have really changed over just a short period of time. Like within a month, all of a sudden things have changed. I can't wait to get into that. As an award-winning coach around this forgiveness area, I'm finding the things that you and I have been talking about so interesting, because it feels like since we're spending so much more time at home that some of us can be struggling with being in our home. We want it to be so loving and supportive, but sometimes when the relationships aren't so good that, because we're talking about in the forgiveness area, of course, my friend, that it can be more stressful instead of playful and fun. And I'm hearing a lot of stressors out there. So perfect time, Carolyn. I'm going to say Carolyn C.J. Jones. I'm so casual with your name because we know each other. But welcome in, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. So now, Carolyn, you've been out there doing a lot of live events, going out and speaking and talking about forgiveness and talking about how you can do certain strategies to start thinking about ways to forgive, ways to have better relationships. I know when we just did our Fresh Inspiration-a-thon, you did a really interesting 3-step thing where you allowed almost like a journaling process to happen within just a few minutes today. So is that one of the things that you think you may bring up, like some kind of easy exercise they can do?
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. It's a great exercise.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so we'll make sure, I'm going to put a note here because I think the people that are going to be live with us, it's not just people that that are looking for your juicy information. I bet you have some friends too that probably have friends of friends that want to hear this information. So I think we see this as a common theme of what people need support in.
Right.
My first thing is, with all the changes that are happening, what are you seeing out there that are some of the biggest struggles right now that are different than what we were dealing with just a short period of time ago?
Well, staying at home for one, and not just running to the store without planning ahead to have all my gear with me. So that's definitely changed. The other thing that's changed is in-person meetings, coffee meetings, for example, and speaking engagements. And I'm getting together a course that I'm giving that I have taught before at the College of Marin. I've kind of reworked it, and we're in 4 weeks, and getting that online and getting ready for that and doing it on Zoom, practicing Zoom, those are the ways that my life has been changed.
I love that you're talking about your course. So we'll make sure we talk about that because it's specific to what we're talking about in our discussion today. And then also about the Zoom. So are you ready with this new thing of not going out and speaking, but really delivering a course on Zoom? Are you really doing that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I know you're very techie. More than others, because this is a big transition. So for the people that are on here that, of course, are transitioning their businesses, because a lot of entrepreneurs also follow us. And of course, we all are human and have these issues that we're going to be talking about. But it's interesting, the stressors of just running business can even add more into relationship stress. And so
Yeah,
can we talk about that? Just like what you're seeing, some of
sure,
the examples?
sure.
Okay. So what are you seeing like are the top stressors of relationships right now being in a household more?
I'm seeing a lot of arguments that are
Mhm.
happening, and resentments are building. Another thing that's happening is with the extra time that people have on their hands, they're coming up with old resentments. Their old resentments are surfacing. Maybe they're a very old resentment, maybe against parents or something like that. Or maybe it's against the neighbor and it's very recent, maybe your spouse. So those are the things that are coming up, and people don't have a way to leave the house and let off steam like perhaps they used to.
Yeah.
So what are they doing? Maybe
Yeah.
they're continuing to argue. They are.
Yeah. I could see that. And
Yeah.
when you're seeing that kind of stuff through working with clients, and also I bet this was coming up when you were teaching at College of Marin, and when we had all the times we could take off and go for a ride and blow it off. So what are some of the strategies that you're finding are things that you share, or maybe some examples you've noticed lately that really work to kind of defuse things when everybody's in the same household so much now?
Yes. Well, there's two things that work quite well. Number one is a little longer. It's taking people through my what I call the Yippee method. And Yippee is an acronym that stands for yearn, investigate, process, practice, evolve, and empower. And so it takes us through a whole process where the byproduct is forgiveness. But more than that, we gain freedom from our resentments. So that's one thing that I do. And the other thing that's much shorter is the exercise that I was going to do for people today. Is,
Oh,
is now a good time or should I wait?
I will. I think we're getting there because I think we're almost there. I love, like when you said freedom, I felt like that pressure off my chest.
Oh,
And that's where I go with whenever we say freedom. I'm very excited to hear about your exercise. So you seeing it live and then also seeing it recording, think about how you feel right now, and then Carolyn, we can talk about how people usually feel after they do this exercise. So we'll have them like come into a threshold like right now, how they feel. But I'd
okay.
love to hear you talk about what your process is.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
All righty. What you get from this when you do this is just relief from a resentment. It just puts things in perspective a little bit better. So it's a writing exercise. I recommend pen to paper. There you go. There you go. Pen to paper. It's better than the computer because as you exercise certain muscles in your fingers, it stimulates certain places in your brain that relate to emotions.
Hmm.
And that's how a lot of your emotions come up is through writing. A lot of difficulties can be dealt with that way. So then ask and answer these three questions. Well, first of all, think about a resentment that you have. Think about the person it's against, or a situation that you're resenting, or maybe it's even against yourself.
Ooh,
So clarify what your resentment is.
okay.
Okay, next, answer this question. What are the positive things that have happened because of this situation, this resentment? what is a positive thing that might occur? Usually it's what has occurred already.
Okay. So so the question is, what has already occurred or what did I learn from it?
Not what, well, learning is the second question.
Oh, okay.
So the first question is, what is the positive thing, a positive thing that you have gained from the resentment?
See,
That right
I'm
now
trying to
you
listen.
gain,
This
or
is
in the
good.
past you gained. And then the second question is, what is the lesson that you learned from it or are learning from it? It may be in the present tense that you're dealing with it. And then the third question is, what can you be grateful for? So ask yourself, what can I be grateful for from this situation, about this situation? Let me give you a brief example
Okay.
from my own life, and it had to do with an unrequited love situation that just shattered me. I was talking about this today on my Facebook Live at 12:45. Anyway, for 7 years it did. And finally, I came across those 3 questions in the book by Fred Luskin, who's a PhD psychologist at Stanford, who happens to be a world-renowned forgiveness expert, who happens to have written the foreword of my forgiveness book, by the way. Anyway, he has these 3 questions that I just gave you. And so I applied them. It wasn't a resentment, it was grief. But I applied the questions to my grief, and it worked. They worked because what my positives and my gratitudes were the same thing. And here they are. There's several of them. The whole thing pried me out of a really dysfunctional and alcoholic marriage. It got me sober. It led me to forgive my past, led me to forgiveness work I do today, and led me to write the book on forgiveness. None of those things would have happened had that situation not occurred. And so today, when I look at it, certainly I don't see it with fondness. I never want to go back, but it's just something that happened. It doesn't have a charge to it at all. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think of in this world that you're talking about, I feel like there are like 2 different ways of looking at things. And sometimes it looks like it's the same. And one of them is where you are answering those questions, but like I love how you said, like you don't want to revisit it. Like you said you wanted to. But in this world right here is the one that's not really working very well because you're more of a victim. It's hard to let go. You don't want to revisit it. It's scary, and you're not working with the right person to be able to allow it to bubble up. So it becomes a cycle, and then you don't get anywhere. And so that's when you call your friends and you have a session that it starts with like a B word, like a bitch session, because you just don't know how to get out of it. And then the resentment,
Right.
I see Carolyn getting bigger and bigger, because the story gets bigger and bigger as time goes on. And
Yeah.
then I see this other hand of the stuff that you just said is when you're bubbling it up, you literally get to release it through those 3 questions. So can I share with you what I got out of it?
Yes, I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so I was thinking about the positive that I got out of it was that I was growing from it.
You
Right.
were what?
Our last incident, like the positive was I could feel myself growing.
Oh, growing.
Yeah, growing. Because before I used to be on this other hand where I would want to talk to my friends and I just want to complain. Like I mean, like I looked like that, and I know inside and yuckiness I felt. But now when you're talking about it and you're guiding and you're really helping with releasing this, like, because you're going in that positive direction. So I was noticing, like, I was just feeling empowered, like, yeah, I got
Hmm.
this. And I never felt like that
Hmm.
before. So that exercise helped.
Wow.
Um, and then the last part was, yeah, like I didn't feel like a victim anymore, that I could take charge, that I was more in control because now I wasn't blaming the other person. And before, I
Yeah.
just wanted to control and I wanted that person to act a certain way. And then
Hmm.
if they didn't act like that, then how dare them? And I better break up with them or I better leave that relationship. And it was just like that buildup.
Yes.
Do you see
Yes.
that quite a bit in those types of discussions?
Well, I do. It's very interesting that you should go through all that you've just said,
Yeah.
because I have found very much the same to be true. I used to, in fact, it refers again back to Dr. Luskin. He says when we have a resentment, we're doing three things. We're taking the offense too personally, we're
Mm.
blaming the offender for our feelings, and we are telling our tale of woe. And what you just described is telling a tale of woe.
I was
And
good
I
at that.
used to do that. I was terrible at it.
Yeah.
And then his remedy for that is asking and answering those three questions for the
And
very reasons that you were talking about, Rhonda,
yeah.
because you didn't feel like a victim anymore.
And you know what I love about this is that we get to giggle and smile around this, and it has nothing to do with taking this subject lightly. It's the feeling that you get to sit with this and start talking about it, and you get to feel that, like what you use that word freedom, like that relief off of you, so that you can, like, I think of it, running the Fresh Inspiration show and having this health coaching background. I always talk about this plate, and so you get to put all that information there. And then I haven't used this scenario in a while, but you get to toss it like a salad. And then you get to see, whoa, like, and you see like those parts, Carolyn, like the fighting or wanting to get in the car and take off and like all this, and you're just tossing it. And by the time you're done with those three questions, you get to lay it back on the plate and see what kind of salad you have.
Yeah,
Do you like that
yeah,
scenario?
yeah, that's great. That's great. I
You know
like that scenario.
Another thing that you get to do is that you get to help others. If you were stuck in the space that you were, I would love for you to share your book. Just put it up so I could see your book. And if you could tell me a few things of what you're proud of with that book, because you made it through being a major alcoholic situation to what you're doing now. So the art of forgiveness, a promise of peace. And so this is from Carolyn C.J. Jones. What makes you so proud about being able to put your words in that book?
I got really open with people. I just wrote as if I don't think I've been that open with anyone ever in some of the shadow things that I wrote about myself.
Yeah.
So I just opened up.
Was it scary releasing it, just knowing that you were exposing yourself, or what was the feeling that you were getting as you were getting ready to release the book?
One of excitement. See, I was doing it because I believe I was told to do it by my higher spirits. And so I wasn't nervous about it. I just wrote what came to me and put the book out there. And I'm trusting that that's what I was supposed to write about because that's what was there.
I feel that, Carolyn. It is incredible.
Mm,
Knowing, and that's a beautiful cover. And what I like about that cover is, I know a friend did it for you because we were talking about this the other day, of so many wonderful things that people are doing in really intense times right now. That's a beautiful cover. But I do
yeah.
want to talk about, can we talk about your photography? Because your photography that you, I want to talk about two things. I do want to talk about your photography because it does link with healing and what you're doing right now. And also I want to make sure that people know more about your Facebook Lives.
Okay.
And I do want to talk about your course because I want to get more of an understanding, because I get such good, warm feelings when you and I talk. I want to know a bit more about that course, and we'll make sure that people get to connect with you. And we will talk about the next Inspiration-a-thon Reawakening, because that is a free event. And did you enjoy the event that we did last Sunday?
Oh, it was tremendous. Yes, I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed all the different perspectives
Yeah.
that you brought all together into one.
Yeah, I just felt like, you were talking, I have two books also, so I know how the writing process where we just get to be in
Mhm.
that. I felt like that last Sunday. I felt like I was
Oh,
writing a beautiful story, and I haven't said this before, it's just coming up, allowing these other experts like you, and not having control, just allowing the other experts to help guide this process as I was hosting. And
mm.
I love that you're going to be on this next one too. And our next one's April 26th. We'll talk a little bit more about that. With why I want to talk about your photography is, just the other day I was talking to you about this, and I want to bring it up again, that the pictures that you have taken with your camera, and what it really says right when I see it is exactly what you talk about. Like opening a gate, opening a pathway, and all of those. You have such a beautiful eye. Does that help
Oh,
you with the coaching when you
thank
have
you.
like all these different senses and different angles that you go out and you see?
I do use my book, which is where the photos are, in my coaching. I make reference to them and to the various verses.
Your photography inspires me so much, and sometimes
Oh,
I'll catch it in my feed as I'm going through our social media, and
mm.
I get to see the inspiration that you do put out there, and the picture gets my visual going, and my heart starts opening up, and I get to hear your soft, tender words about
Oh,
relieving tension and stress. And I want more people to be able to find you. So, is there a specific group that you release these pictures and quotes and words and wisdom in?
it's actually, yes, I do. In the, I forget the title of it. It's about peace, how to get to peace. And it's private, and I can't figure out how to turn it public. So I need to get some technical advice on that.
Oh, okay, I might be able to help you with that.
Oh,
Um,
great.
yeah, and so you want to definitely follow Carolyn C.J. Jones in social media. The link is already there because we have her name. You just have to click her name. And then as soon as we get that open for you so it's not private anymore, then you'll then just make a post so everybody knows how to find it, which is really cool. And
Yes.
so, okay, so we have that. And then we also have, you do Facebook Lives pretty consistent. What is it? What days are you doing it and what time?
I started again with a daily Monday through Friday at 12:45, and the name of the program is We're Alive at 12:45.
So, okay, so um, you and your rhyming, CJ. Now I'm gonna call you CJ because you'll see her middle initials CJ, and you may think that it stands for Carolyn Jones. CJ, can you share what CJ actually means for you?
Yeah, well, when I wrote my book, and my first book, and you're gonna see that in a minute, um, I was told that I needed to have a platform to be a speaker. I mean, an author. So I Googled myself to see where I fell, and I went through 25 pages and didn't find me there. So I gave up. It was all Carolyn Jones, the actress.
How
So I thought, I
dare.
need a middle name. I need a middle name. Well, I wasn't given one at birth. I kept my maiden name when I got married for professional reasons. And so I thought, I'll have to use the one that my friend gave me in high school. I was one of the leads in the high school musical Carousel. I had the role of Carrie, and apparently I stole the show. And
I'm
from
so
that, she
surprised.
nicknamed me. You're not surprised?
I'm not surprised.
She nicknamed me the original Cracker Jack.
Mm.
And so that's what CJ really stands for, Cracker Jack. So that's part of my professional name.
That is just so silly. Okay, so our last Facebook Live, we were giggling nonstop because you're just so much fun to hang out with. This one, we're acting more serious, but I think it's a good platform to act a little bit more serious this time, huh? Because the world is changing. Is there any other wisdom or any things you're posting all the time about this stuff to be able to share with others about your heartfelt, like how you're feeling about all this?
Yeah.
Relationships and how that, whatever you want, my friend.
Well, I'm not sure what you're asking.
Well, I know that all the years of what you've been doing as a leader in this forgiveness area, there must be some love and some heartfelt things you want to share. Is there anything that you want to
Oh,
add to our call as we're we're clipping off, we're getting close to the end here, but I have my
okay.
hand on my heart, like virtually I can just keep feeling it here. But I bet you have some things, you're live right now. Is there anything you'd like to add to this discussion today?
Yeah. Feel hope. And hope is an acronym. It has two meanings. It stands for hold on, pain ends. And it stands for hold on, possibilities emerge. And they do. The more grateful you can be, the more you attract positivity to yourself, the more you attract opportunities to yourself. And when you take those opportunities that make your heart sing and you're grateful for them, then you're sent more and more and more. It's an ever upward spiral. It's great. And I can't help smiling because it's so great to be there. And knowing that I came from really being angry when people were grateful. That's what I started with.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, my friend. Are you
Yes.
feeling pretty good about the results that you're seeing as you're working with people in these big struggles that we're dealing with?
Yes. People are able to resolve resentments that are happening in the moment and come together and do some talking together and sharing of feelings. First, I invite them to write separately and then to come together and share what they wrote. And that seems to be helpful for them.
I love that. Is that around your program? I am looking for relief, resentment. I just wrote down your program, bringing peace home. So in
That's
that,
a special program that's coming up.
yeah, yeah. So is that some of the things that you've been talking about? That's kind of some of the ideas as they're going through. And is this a 6-week, 8-week course? What is it?
It's a course that will take you through the Yippie method. So it will
Oh,
take you from feeling angst and resentment through to a place where you feel relief from the resentment, freedom from the resentment, and you maybe even get to a point of forgiveness. If not then down the road.
yeah, because it can be seeds. So sometimes we're not ready to let fully go, but I could see it getting lighter and lighter as they're doing the exercises and
Right.
breathing in. Um, can you share this our last part, and then I'll make sure that you know about the inspiration a thon. coming up April 26th. Can you share that story that I so love to hear about when you were in prison and doing these exercises? What are some of the results you were getting when you were in like some really heavy discussions about people being in prison and forgiveness linked with that?
Yeah. A few years ago, I worked at San Quentin State Prison with a program. I'm blanking on its name, that
Mm-hmm.
goes into Colorado Rehab Institute.
Mm.
And this woman who organized this goes into San Quentin and runs a 2-year empowerment program for men that are coming up for parole. Well, she takes guest people in there, and I went in for 2 weekends in a row. They meet every Saturday for 2 years. What I found, and I went in to present my workshop that was, tailored more for them
Yeah.
in the exercises I was doing. I wasn't lecturing, didn't have a PowerPoint, but anyway, it was magic. Because, here I am, if you picture it, in a room full of ex-murderers,
Mm.
and who knows what else.
Yeah.
And we are like connecting on this very high vibration because they've done so much self-work. I was in toward the end of their 2-year program. So they had made many miraculous changes. So we go through the program, and at the beginning of the second week, before we started, a couple guys came up to me, and one of them said, I swore I would never forgive my parents for
Mm.
putting me in here. And now, after I listened and heard what you had to say, I can forgive them. Oh, that
Wow.
gives me goosebumps.
I know. You think about the intensity of that and then and the
Hmm.
newness of all this. I could see how it would be wonderful to be able to have some support from you. How do people connect with you besides going to your page and making sure they're friends or they're following you on your social media page? What's a way that they can connect with you? Any other way?
Yeah, the best way is to go to my website, which is carolyncjjones.com. Real straightforward.
I
And
like it.
how to contact me is there, my phone, my email. You can contact me. One day I might get an email system set up through that contact tab, but that's not there yet.
Okay. Hey,
But you can,
we're always transitioning, and you don't have to have
yeah,
things that are perfect. This is great because you're getting out there and not just waiting. You're just doing it. So
yeah.
okay, so we have an April 26th event, and it's called we're keeping it the Fresh Inspiration Athon virtual show, but it's a reawakening. By the end of April, we're going to know more about what's happening out there, but it really is going to be, the reawakening of everything that we've been learning over the past weeks of being in our walls and the relationships that we have. And so this is going to be a free event, and we're going to do it through Zoom. And so you can come in through Zoom. There'll be a link that you get, and I'll make sure I get the link for the event because we're live with that event now. And then also you can go to a public group that we have on Facebook. It's called the Fresh Inspiration Show public group. And we will be going live in there. And we have between 20 and I thought up to 70 what I saw of people that were all coming together, asking so many questions in our last Inspiration-a-thon, the community coming together. You could feel the flow. So if you want to be in where you can peek in for an hour or spend all day or little steps throughout the day, you're going to get some massive connection with community and things as far as you want to open up your heart. There was meditation. Um, Carolyn, you're going to be going through another exercise for them, and I think you're going to be
Mhm.
on from 2 to 3, and there's another part that you're going to be on also. So you're going to want to be able to look at that schedule and make sure I get the link down here. But times have changed as I've been seeding it through our discussion today with Carolyn C.J. Jones and with the Fresh Inspiration Show. Is as the founder of this show, we're going on our 3rd year. I've seen so many changes happen. We didn't know that we were going to be in this type of space where we are hunkered in at our computer or TV or whatever, but this is how we get to deliver space where we get to nurture times that feel so uncomfortable, or we're learning to live a new way. Our world is never going to be the same. If you think about it, it takes a while for our brain to start shifting and changing. By the time everything starts opening up, our brain is going to be starting to think differently. We're going to be going into new ways of doing business, new ways of our relationships, new ways of looking at ourselves. And that's what that day is about. So I want to make sure that you click the link that's going to be in the comments, April 26th, and learn about what others have gotten from it. There's videos also available. I'll put the link there also. You'll want to also be connecting with CJ. If this is such a good connection for you, I don't know too many people that have perfect relationships. It's just not, it's not attainable. And who wants to be perfect anyway? But it's great to keep learning, CJ, from you every day with the Facebook Live coming in. You just really show up. Did you say you had another book that you wanted to show? Because you have 2 books, don't you, my friend?
Yes, I do. And this is the first one, Opening the Gates of the Heart, A Journey of Healing. And this is the book that has all the gate photos in it. There's 42 of them. And there are verses that go with each of the gates.
I love that.
And here's one for you. 3/4 of the gates, the verses that go with those gates, were written in my journals before I even saw the gates.
Oh, really?
Yes, can you believe that?
Well, I can see, well, I see there's different layers of healing that you went through to be able to open that space, because of all the stuff that was going on in your life and things you had to unravel, just like what you're saying with your course, bringing peace home. It's that you get a little bubbling up and then you keep doing the exercises and it opens up. And so you have your pictures that you've taken of gates and paths. And then you also have your verses that in your story as you guide along. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you so much, Carolyn C.J. Jones. And
oh, thank you, Rhonda. I appreciate you too.
thank you. If you got, as you were going through this, you can share it anywhere, because there's more and more people that are going to get to know Carolyn C.J. Jones. And I bet there's so many more good things and nuggets that we're going to learn along the way as we spend the day together with the Inspiration-a-thon, and that we're just going through these big changes. So thank you, my friend, for being here at a time that is well needed.
Well, and thank you for having